Hi ladies and gents that are watching the show out there. Happy Sunday 4 p.m. Welcome to another DKW show. Well, on today's show, we're going to be talking about shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If you could go back in time and change something, what would it be? That's right, we're discussing regrets. How do you deal with them? How do you move on? If you're going through a current regret, what do you do now? So you don't want to miss this one. And we've got a video coming up which will show you what's going to be happening in the show. So stay tuned.
I used to imagine a wonderful marriage, a perfect marriage, and I thought I had a perfect marriage, but all of a sudden it was all taken away from me.
Okay, welcome back. We are talking regrets, and I'm obviously not alone on the couch today. I've got my lovely Sam.
Of course not, you're not alone. You know,
ladies, it's such a pleasure to be with you as always. But today's show, I mean, it could go a bit sour, doom and gloomy, or it could be a funny one. Regrets. What do you ladies have to say about regrets?
Oh, don't we all have regrets? Definitely regrets.
I think there's varying levels of extremity, isn't there?
There is, indeed. And I think that, you know, when I think of regrets, I've had regrets throughout my life.
Yeah.
You know, from childhood up until my adult age now. And but one thing I've learned from regrets don't remain set in stone. Thankfully, that we can move forwards from those regrets, and that's what I've experienced. But yes, Jen, I have had loads of regrets.
Like you said, there are varying levels. So you could leave this show crying and thinking, "Oh my God, my life is over," and it's terrible, which I've done in the past before. I remember, I think at maybe age 19, I thought my life was over.
Really?
Yes, because of stuff that happened in my life, and it's just like, oh, how could this happen to me?
Could it be your love life?
It's funny because I said to Sam, I'm not going to talk about my relationships anymore on the show. I think the viewers are just fed up of hearing them. Regretfully, I will not talk about them. But yeah, literally, or you could just think, oh my gosh, that was so stupid of me, and move on and laugh it off. There's a few things that I do regret which I actually find funny today, and my friends and family find funny, so it can be a laughing thing as well.
At least seeing as everyone's spilled the beans.
That's what I'm saying. It can just be as simple as, I remember like being in a restaurant, for example, and I love the series Luther.
Right, yeah.
And Idris Elba, and he was sat like literally over there.
No way!
And I know people are going to think, never with me, but I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't actually go up to him. I was like, to my little brother, go and like say, I regret it. But it could be from that, then to like what Gemma was saying, like in my love life, and making decisions that if I thought about it properly at the time, I probably wouldn't have made them. Yeah. So varying levels.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the streets as well of London and find out what other regrets people have out there. So it's not just you guys. We're going to find out now.
How about you, Jen?
Well, come to me.
Have any regrets? You're getting out of this.
Well, come to me after these videos.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait.
What's your biggest regret?
Not going travelling earlier.
But you have since.
I'm going soon, but I wish I'd gone a few years ago.
I think it would be school.
Going or not going?
Not taking it seriously, I'll say. Because now I'm in college now, so I have to work extra hard. So I think school was really important, but I didn't take it as serious back then. So now I'm doing like all my hard work now.
I really don't have a regret. I don't think I do.
That's great.
No, I sometimes think that maybe I should have studied elsewhere than my home country. I stayed in Lithuania, but now I think that I should have come here and studied.
If you could start your life again, what would you change?
I think I would stay the way it is. I've really enjoyed it so far.
I think I would repeat school, take it a bit more seriously, some certain aspects in school. Taking extra classes and doing my homework and stuff like that I didn't do. So yeah, that's what I'd probably do.
I think I didn't pay enough attention to my family at some points of my life. I think I missed out on that. I try not to regret it though.
I would have said love you to someone that I didn't say to, probably.
Oh, that's lovely. Is there someone that you've been bad to? Is there someone you can think of that you weren't like so nice to or regret?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, there was probably a few people that I wish I could go back and apologise to now for things I've done.
Can I ask what you did?
Well, I had a friend that was really, she was really nice and lovely, but we kind of grew apart, and I regret some of the things. I regret the fact that we grew apart and I never, you know, got back in touch.
I would say, like, getting into a fight with my friend, but, like, we were just kind of, like, messing around and it got serious, and I kind of, like, knocked out his tooth. Yeah, so, yeah, I think that's about the worst thing I've ever done to someone. I'm quite polite. I don't really, like, get into kind of situations like that with people, you know. I'm quite humble, so I guess so. That's the only bad thing, I think.
Well, there you go. There were some regrets on the street, and I know you're looking at me. My regrets, I would say my regrets was allowing certain factors that happened to me during my childhood to stifle my childhood. I think I could have gotten a lot out of my childhood and teenage years if I didn't allow this.
A lot more.
Yeah, and I think that would be a regret that I have.
So a lot of insecurities.
A lot of insecurities and so on that kind of put me in my little box, unfortunately. But I'm out of the box now, as you can see.
You're looking absolutely beautiful in that orange.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do look lovely. It's funny because you allow, like, it's amazing when you get older, you do look at things of the past when you're younger, the things that affect you, and as you get older, a lot of the times you think, oh, that was so small.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you think, oh my gosh, it's like, yeah, my life is over.
Yeah.
One thing the guy said on the street, which I can really relate to, and I forgot to say, but is a regret, is my student loan. I spent all my student loan on clothes and shoes.
Right, I think that's typical of most students.
People take out big debts.
If I could go back to my university life, I would have put the deposit down on a house. Like,
yeah,
you know, because I literally had £9,000, obviously in total.
That's right.
And I think that was the total of it, like through my whole uni. And I didn't spend it on much stuff for uni, but I remember buying clothes, shoes, makeup, perfume. I had a brilliant time,
but now you've got to pay it all back.
And where are those clothes?
Well, you know, we're having a bit of a giggle, and we've got some celebs here that allegedly have some regrets, some silly ones. So the first one I've got here is Justin Timberlake. Could he regret anything? Well, he says he regrets the funny outfits from his NSYNC days. I don't know if you can see this photo.
He must regret that one he did with Britney as well, you know, with him and her matching denim outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so cute. We've got another one here. Well, this one is rather bizarre. I don't know why she did this. Megan Fox. She used to love Marilyn Monroe so much that she got a tattoo of her on her forearm. I mean, of all things.
Oh, ridiculous.
But now she regrets all the negative energy that it attracts. She's begun laser treatment to have removal for it. Ladies, have you ever made a permanent decision that you regret?
I haven't got a tattoo of anyone. Like,
I know, because I've often thought, like, imagine those people that put the name of the person.
Yeah, and then you break up.
And on their hand, and then they end up falling out.
yeah, like Johnny Depp. That's what Johnny Depp
did. That person on their body.
He had Winona Forever,
and
he ended up changing it to Wino Forever.
That's like the most famous thing, because the truth is, you know, you're in love today, and you know you're in it, and it could change tomorrow. Like, you think you're going to be with that person. Yeah. But I don't think I've done anything permanent. I can't think anything permanent.
I mean, I've gone into relationships which I thought was going to be permanent, and they've happened to be a total regret. Total regret.
Oh, wouldn't that be thankful? Because then, if you stayed in those relationships, you wouldn't have the beautiful one that you have now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's very, very true. But yet there's still regrets there, Jen. Unfortunately. You know, because when you've been in relationships that's turned into abuse or betrayal, then you think, gosh, you sacrificed so much into that relationship, and you didn't get a success at the end of the story. And I think that's what traumatises a lot of people out there. They put so much in and get very little back.
I agree with Sam, because also what you don't realise a lot of the time, especially with relationships, is that what the experiences you go through then affect the next relationship, or they affect you. Maybe even stop you from finding the right person. Or sometimes you've got so much baggage. Like, I can relate to you. You've got so much baggage to then overcome. Whereas if you didn't get into that relationship, or if you didn't go for that wrong choice, whatever it might be, you might have not had that baggage to then deal with.
That's right.
And then if you're married or got married like I did, then you have a tag of divorced. And it's always, and you know, and for some people though, that is a massive, you know, title to carry.
It's an impact on your life,
because it's still a tick box. You know, when you're ticking, you're single, married, divorced. So it is, you know, it's something that can, you know, mess with your mind if you really allow it to. And like Gemma said, taking into
and even change. I know my past, and especially my childhood, because I had, you know, there were stages in my life which was really so negative, and I got involved with so much negative company, got myself with doing negative things and drugs and you name it in my younger life. But when you look back now, there was no benefits. It's not, you can say, okay, at least I learned from that, and at least this. You end up not really learning from it, because it ends up being a big trauma in your life. And like Lisa was saying, you can't change that label sometimes.
So there are consequences to certain.
It's like someone who does a crime. Yet they may do a crime and end up with a criminal record. But can that criminal they may change and become a wonderful person in the future, never do any criminal activities again, but can that criminal record be erased? No, it can't. It affects their whole life.
Well, you said something, and I've got another celeb here about things. Can things ever change? We've got Kourtney Kardashian. She got a boob job when she was 22, and now she wishes that she'd never done it. So do you think there are some things that once you do, you're just never the same again, like what Sam was saying?
Yeah, definitely. 22 is too young, I think, to have a boob job.
Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Because I just think in your early 20s... I
don't think you've stopped growing up yet.
Yeah, and also in your early 20s, I don't know, there is a lot of pressure, I understand, a lot of peer pressure, but I just feel like you're not fully formed in your mind. You actually don't know what you want.
Mature enough,
so if I was a parent, I would never advise my daughter to have a boob job or to change her body. And it is difficult because although she could take her implants out, you still have those scars and you still deal with the aftermath. And what about that whole thing of people, you remember the other day there was this whole thing of implants exploding and all that stuff? It can really affect your health. And then when your health goes down the drain, you really regret it.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it affects everything else in your life.
Well, all those people who've had plastic surgery and it's turned out wrong.
Sometimes you look worse than before. You can't go back.
Well, talking about looking worse than before and overcoming such regrets, we're going to have a life coach who's going to be coming on after the break, Georgina Elliott. She's going to be telling us how we can deal with our regrets and how you can unravel if you have a regret and perhaps you don't know about it. So that will be rather interesting. So stay tuned after this break.
Very good evening to you. We are live. This is your Finding Answers program.
I started running away from home at a very young age.
Guns, knives, affiliated with gangs.
Share, open your heart, talk to someone.
If you ask the question, can God help me? The answer will always be yes.
Forgiving the person who betrayed you can be tough, and it can almost always leave a scar. A scar that remains from an abusive past can affect your future in so many ways. There are various forms of abuse, the seen and the unseen. We understand your pain because we have been through it ourselves. If you or someone you know is a victim of any form of abuse, help is available. Rahab, removing all hurt and abuse. We won't pretend it never happened, but our aim is to help you heal the wounds of the past so that you can build a happy future. We'll listen, we'll advise, we'll be your shoulder to cry on. It's free, confidential, and we're just a phone call away. For more information, call 0207 686 6000 or visit our website uckg.org/Rahab.
welcome back to today's DKW show. We were just having a little bit of a giggle during the break. But we've got the lovely Georgina Elliott with us, our lovely...
Thank you. Hi.
Welcome. Nice
Thank you very
Georgina.
much. Nice to be here.
Georgina, we're talking regrets. I mean, what do you want to say on the whole topic before we delve in with our questions?
I think regrets, it's such a big issue, isn't it? I mean, it can be so many things. It can be a trivial thing, it can be a huge thing that can kind of end up really controlling your life. But I think the main thing about regrets is don't become a prisoner of your past. It's very much about dealing with it, moving on, moving into your future.
Right.
You know, don't let it control you.
So, okay, so I've got that gist. How did you get into the life coaching side of things to help people deal with such issues?
Well, originally I worked in education as a drama teacher.
Oh, right, okay.
And so really my work was about using drama to help young people really develop confidence. And I think seeing so many young people really blossom in their drama and the way that that really had a massive effect on the rest of their life, it made me think, do you know what, actually, there are so many skills out there that I could learn as a coach to really, you know, work with adults as well. So that's what I do.
Nice. Ladies, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just wondering, would you do the drama on the adults who's had the regrets? I'm just trying to relate the two.
Sometime, on a one-to-one basis, if I'm coaching somebody individually, then probably not. Having said that, there are coaching techniques that you can use. I also run workshops though, so using coaching and drama and role play.
So you do actually do that in your
very
workshops?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, so that's like a technique or...
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what kind of techniques do you say to help people, to help them prevent from keep on making those same mistakes and falling into that trap?
I think it's really about getting people to try and go outside of their comfort zone.
Right.
I think sometimes regrets almost take the place of fear. So for example, you might say, well, I went for this job interview and it went really badly. I'm never going to be promoted. I really regret that and I won't be doing that again.
Right.
So it can actually, so in a way it's about, you know, was it a mistake or was it just part of the process that you went through?
So and in your opinion then, what would you say what people need to do to move on from their regrets?
First of all, I think you need to think, not beat yourself up too much.
Right.
I think sometimes people are very much, you know, in their head about that I should never have done this, I should never have been in this relationship, I should never have done that job, I should have never have made friends with that person. And it's about not beating yourself up about it and thinking, okay, what is it that I want out of my future? And I think if you can be really focused on what you want out of your future and you can start learning about the patterns of behaviour that you've got and trying to overcome negative patterns.
Avoiding them, isn't it?
And avoiding them and maybe going off and doing something different rather than that behaviour or rather than being tempted into that relationship with a particular kind of person, then I think that can help you move on.
It's a very valid point you said that. Not beating yourself up, because many people might have that as a weakness and that's why they become timid or afraid or shy or think, I can't go into that or I won't go for that because I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So how does that person overcome such a weakness, or if they do have weaknesses in general that lead them to these regrets, how do they overcome it?
Well, first of all, I don't see it as a weakness. You know, we're all human beings. We've all got things that we're naturally good at and other things that we need to learn from. I don't see it as a weakness. I see it more as an area for development.
Right.
And it's about helping people through the coaching process to change their mindset so that they're thinking, do you know what? Yes, it is an area that I need to work on and this is how I do it. You know, identifying the steps that you need to take to overcome that. So for example, I worked with somebody earlier in the year who said to me, I can't do interviews. I'm really rubbish at them. You know, I just know I won't get this job. And so we looked at what were the areas that she felt she wasn't so strong in, and we worked on those areas. So it's about, I suppose, pulling things apart a little bit and thinking, okay, what are you really good at, and what are the areas that you could develop in?
I'm kind of looking at it, I'm kind of going by what you're saying there, Jen, by people's weaknesses, and I'm just thinking, I'm just looking at a scenario of a woman that she tends to always goes for the bad guys. She's attracted to the bad guys only.
Yeah.
That's a weakness for her. How does she overcome that? You know what I mean?
I think it's about...
Wouldn't that be a weakness that she's, you know, literally attracting herself to negative people all the time?
Totally. I mean, yes, totally.
In that sense?
And it's about having that self-awareness to think, do you know what, I've had 10 of these relationships and I need to attract somebody else. But... And it almost becomes an addiction, I think. Sometimes, you know, people are addicted to bad relationships or, you know, getting into all the drama, or getting into certain dramatic situations, perhaps in work or with friends. And the first step is about having that self-awareness. Do you know what? I want to stop that. I don't want to go out with those men anymore. So it's about, you know, getting rid of the trash and bringing in people that are going to support you, who are going to be positive.
So would you think that if that person cannot recognise that weakness, can they not come out of it then? So say for that, going back to that scenario, I'm still attracted to that person. I'm not recognising that, look, this is not good for me. I'm not telling myself that's bad. These are bad company, bad news. She can't come out of it, would you think not?
Well, I think at the end of the day, you know, we're all in charge of our own destinies, and it is about self-awareness. And, you know, if somebody says, do you know, I'm not going to do anything about it, I'm just going to carry on going out with these men, then that's their choice at the end of the day. But I think that if, as a friend or as a coach, you can get somebody to see, number one, you know, where that's taking her in terms of going down a very negative route and the consequences of those men, but also offering an alternative.
That's
and
nice.
it's about, do you know what, there is another way. There are other guys out there who are actually more positive and can give you a different life.
There you go. So it's like changing their mindset.
Totally.
And speaking about changing mindset, that was going to be my next question. How do you get that person to adapt and change their mindset? Because if you've got something that's been learned over a long period of time, maybe it might be hard to unlearn.
Very much so. And I think going back to the scenario that you just gave, it's about self-belief. You know, I think somebody that has a pattern of, you know, bad relationships, for example, very often there's a real link with self-esteem there. So I would say, number one, it's about trying to build that self-esteem over time. And it's also about helping that person go outside what I would call her comfort zone. You know,
I like that.
People like to be in their comfort zone, don't they? Because it feels, you know, this is what I know. But actually your comfort zone ends up being very uncomfortable if you stay there. So I think it's about very gradually taking small risks, small steps to encourage that person to start to come out of that comfort zone and to start to make changes in their life.
Wow. Lise, do you have any questions?
I was going to say, if something maybe isn't necessarily their fault, if the situation that they're regretting is not one of their own making, like how can, what steps or what advice would you give them to help them prevent it from happening again, or for that regret to take over their life and stop them from trying again?
That's a very good point, very good question. I actually think, first of all, don't spend too much time blaming other people.
Right.
I think we can say, oh, you know, that was my mum's fault. That was, you know, the area that I grew up in. That was my teacher's fault. That was my brother's fault. That was my And I think, yeah, that's fine. Maybe initially you will blame that person, but then it's about taking responsibility for your own destiny.
Totally.
Because you get the people that you know, like you said about the area they live in, I can't succeed, I can't do this because I was born here. From here, no one succeeds. And it's right, coming out of that, stop blaming that situation. I really like
and so many people, you know, have really, really tough upbringings and they have amazingly successful lives. You know, and it's about, okay, fair enough, you take responsibility, but also if there are people in your life that are causing a lot of problems, then you need to deal with that issue. And you need to be the person that takes responsibility and says, right, this person I'm with is causing X, Y, Z problems. Maybe I need to think about, if I can't resolve it, not being with that person anymore.
So that could be with your children, it could be with your partner, it could be with work colleagues, manager, it could be anyone, couldn't it?
Yeah, so you're looking at ways of resolving it, But then if it doesn't resolve itself, then you move on and you make a change. And that's where I think a lot of people are very frightened.
Yeah.
Because that's the comfort zone thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Are you saying that then that person needs to kind of be assertive enough to be able to do that? Because there's so many ways in which people are not assertive and they actually do it in a negative, becomes assertive maybe in a passive way where they just take, or in an aggressive way where they deal with the situation in a you know, like you're saying, go to the person or speak or deal with it, but deal with it in an aggressive way. So I suppose it's doing what you're saying, but in
an assertive way, but in a nice way.
In a nice way.
Because I don't think, you know, this idea of, you know, you need to, when you're confident, you need to be sort of arrogant is ridiculous. You know, it is about being assertive, being comfortable with yourself and communicating in a resourceful way to that person.
Yeah. You know, I had a question concerning the whole regrets, and we mentioned it before the break with the celebrities. Do you think that there's situations where they just can never be resolved? So even though you have that regret, unfortunately, you just have it and that's that and you can't do anything about it?
Do you know, I think everything is in our head. Everything that has happened in the past has gone. It's all in your mind. And actually, there's loads of things that you can do as a coach to really help that person change what's going on in their head.
So what would be your top 4 tips then to give to the viewers out there? Perhaps they've, you know, a loved one's died and they never got to say I love you, and that regret's still plaguing them, and that's something that's unchangeable because the person's now gone. Or maybe they had an opportunity to take that particular break and now they can't take that break anymore because there's no more money left. Maybe there's something permanent that's left them in that situation and they've got the regret, but because it's a permanent situation they can't go back on it and change it. So how do they deal with that regret? What would be your top 4 tips?
Top 4 tips, let's have a think. The first thing I think is to talk about it to somebody.
Right.
So it might be a friend, it might be a member of your family, it might be a coach. So to get it out there, because actually by talking about things, your brain starts working in a much clearer way. So I think getting clarity on the situation and actually thinking, hold on, really, is this really something that I should be regretting? Is this something that really justifies dominating the rest of my life? So trying to get it into perspective by talking to people.
I can really relate to that because I know that with my own traumas, my own situations that I went through in my life, that's exactly what I needed to do. I had to, in my case, I went to church and I spoke with the advisors at the church, but that enabled me to empty all that pain and rubbish that was inside. I was able to vomit it all out and get some positive advice back.
That's a great image there. So I definitely think getting it out to whoever, you know, is the best person. I think the second thing is, you know, looking back at that situation perhaps and trying to see the positive. So for example, if it's somebody that's died, thinking, well, hold on, look at the wonderful aspects of that relationship that we had, focusing in your head when you're thinking about the past on the really good aspects of that. Because once you start to do that and you say to yourself, I'm not going to regret the negative things, I'm just going to focus on the positive, it's actually amazing what your mind will start doing. And then that leads me on to affirmations, saying to yourself, I'm not going to let my regrets ruin my life. And then making a really good plan for the future.
Brilliant stuff. I love that, Georgina. It was fabulous having you on. I love the tips. Absolutely great.
Lovely to be here.
Ladies, we'll be back after this break with a drama coach who will be showing us how we can overcome our regrets. You don't want to miss that one. Stay tuned.
You gotta love this.
Hi ladies and gents, welcome to our DKW show. We're talking regrets and I've got the lovely Janet Glasser with me. Hi Janet.
Hi.
Janet, you are a drama therapist.
Yes.
What is drama therapy and how did you get into it?
Drama therapy is a kind of therapy that means that you can get up and walk about, and you may even not want to use words at all. So it's very refreshing not being a therapist where one person's sitting revealing everything and the other person's just listening. It's very different to that. Right. The way I got into it was that I've always done drama in my life. I've been a drama teacher and I've written and directed plays. So that's one aspect. And then I've always been fascinated by people, what makes us tick. Why are we all very similar but in fact very different? What's that about? You know, what motivates us, what drives us? So I've always asked those questions. So at a given point in my life, I thought I'm going to put the two together and be a drama therapist.
Ah, lovely. So then I've got our lovely Georgina with us.
Yes.
So she's over on this side of the studio.
Yes.
And she's going to be helping us. Well, she's going to be our, what would I say?
She's the client.
Our client?
She's the therapy. Yeah, she's the client.
Okay
today.
then.
Yeah.
So then we're talking regrets on today's DKW show. How can your drama therapy session help a person to overcome their regrets?
Right, okay. So I'll talk a bit about that first with you. I think that one has to realise that we as humans have all the gamut, the whole range of emotions, and some of those can feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So if we're feeling regret, if it stays with you, it can bring up all sorts of horrible feelings about shame, which we've all got from way down from being young, you know, being shamed in front of the other kids at school or something. So we've got these feelings that can be uncomfortable, shame and grief and loss, and we really want to shy away from them. But actually, you need to process some of those things that have happened to you and to be able to allow yourself to face up to some of the not such nice things about yourself, and actually they then, once you face up to them, they lose their toxicity. Brilliant. And you can move on. And drama therapy does that by, you know, two horrible words for a lot of people. Drama, oh, what are they going to make me do? And therapy, oh my God, I'm not mad or sick. But by using creative processes and having someone that you can trust as a guide, you can get to explore some of these things that are troubling you and actually getting rid of, you know, leaving behind behaviours that you no longer need to have, that you've had through your life, because they've helped you, they're defence mechanisms and they've helped you survive.
Yeah.
So at a given point you might think, actually I don't need to be like that anymore. So using objects from theatre, props and so on, it's a way into the unconscious, and it expresses some of our drives that we can feel very either uncomfortable about or mixed up about. Right. You can have conflicting feelings about something, and that's okay. That's what being human's about. Okay, so would you give us a little mini sample?
Right.
I'm pleased that you're saying kind of sample, because clearly this cannot be a therapy session, because you know, we're not going to have cameras in a therapy room, and also I would want to really build up a relationship with someone so they felt safe, and that it's very much about creating boundaries so that people come into the therapy and they leave feeling that they've had as much as feels comfortable for them. There's no point in people feeling, oh, terribly freaked out. So my role is to either bring them closer to uncomfortable feelings or to actually draw them apart.
So could you give us a little sample of that? Because I can see you've got your props here and so on. So I have. Take it away.
Thank you.
Let's imagine Georgina is your client. What exactly would you do?
Okay. So as we're not going to have much time to get to know each other, but I know that you've done a bit of drama, so you're very kindly willing to do this. What I would start off doing is that I'm going to give you a box of objects, and I'd like you just to draw 2 or 3 objects that somehow resonate for you today now, given what we've been speaking about. If there's anything, you know, the theme is regrets. So something that kind of has some resonance for you.
Okay.
So spend a little time, there are quite a few objects here, but see what you're drawn to.
Okay, so while Georgina's looking at that, why would you get someone to do something like that?
Because it gives them some distance.
Right.
If I ask directly, what are you upset about, you'll have someone who's in a very heightened, distressed state, and the people can't really communicate, you need to then sort of calm them down because they're distressed. But by using objects, they can actually be curious about themselves and find out things about themselves that they weren't really sure were even there. So this is what's great about it.
So I can see, for example, Georgina, you've picked up that one item there, or the two. If you can show us those items, let's say the person's picked up those two items, for example, what then happens next?
I'll show you. Right, okay, you've got two items. So I would probably have these on a piece of paper because this is a boundary.
Right.
So it kind of frames them. Can you put those, Georgina, in some way? Does that look right for you? So what you can see here, Jennifer, is that some process is going on for her, and I'm watching her carefully because I'm seeing that she's having a response to that. We don't know what that response is, but she's having a response.
Right.
And my role is to guide that and look after her and notice it and see what's going on for her.
So then what would happen after that?
Okay.
So let's say she's picked up those two pieces. What would that signify or tell you?
Okay, so is that how you think it should look? Does that look right for you at the moment and what you had in mind?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, obviously we're talking about regrets, and this illuminous, I think it's a cat collar, reminds me of my wonderful cat Arthur, who very tragically died, as cats do, aged 20.
Oh, so it was a long time.
And I think because obviously we've been talking about regrets, I was connecting it with a regret that I have, which despite Arthur being 20, and which is a good age for a cat, I really regret what happened at the end because, you know, I took him to the vet and the vet said, well, he's going to have to be put to sleep. And the vet said to me, stay with him. And I said, I can't stay with him while he's being... So I remember walking out of the room, actually saying goodbye, and he was just all alone on the bench in the vet surgery, and the vet had gone off to get, you know, the drugs or whatever it is they inject them with. And that walking out, and I was so upset, and whereas it hasn't really left me. I mean, this was 2 years ago, that I just left him and that I should have stayed with him.
You see, it's amazing how you could get that one object out and then it would bring up something so painful for you like that. So this is something that someone would go through in a therapy session. This is just a sample.
Sample. It's using tools of theatre to actually engage someone in a creative process. So she's not living it out again, but it's represented there, and at the end of it we would de-roll these so that she puts them back in the box. It's only just a cat collar. And what did that represent?
I'm not sure. I was drawn to that because of the colour and the shape of it. I'm not even sure what it is.
Right.
But I kind of like this sort of long tail. And I don't even know, or I don't know what it is, and there's something quite cute about it, and it looks quite a free creature.
Okay. So perhaps that could signify you wanting to be free from whatever it is that could be inside of you. I mean, we're running out of time now.
Right.
So dealing, or if I could say, summarising regrets for you, what would be the one step that you would say to someone in your session on how they would deal with regrets?
With regrets is. That's a really good question. It's a huge question, isn't it? I'm just still thinking about this. Can I just go back to that? I'd get her to maybe now, using cloths, build something round that she could actually talk to her cat. Sorry,
we're running out of time, that's why.
So what would I say about, in the therapy session, is that we have to be with that pain, which is it shame? We would try and locate what it was.
Right.
And also where that is in your body, because we're doing a lot of talking and being a lot in the head, but actually it's all in your body.
Right.
So I would get people to really communicate with how that feels, because once it's there and once it's released, it no longer is so potent, and it's a way of getting over it. But you can't just banish it. And I don't want to see that. You have to actually be with it, and then you will see it's okay, and you're not on your own, because there's someone there guiding you through and bringing you back out of it.
Thank you.
In a safe way.
It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Janet. And
Lovely.
Thank you, Georgina, for being a lovely helper. We'll be back after this break.
When we want to reach our goals, we research, act, and make sure we know everything there is to know about that topic. We study hard because that is the intelligent thing to do. This is the same for our development as a Christian. The Faith School is designed for those who want a degree in spiritual growth, those who want to separate time to study the Holy Bible and follow God's path for their life. There is no admissions fee and it's suitable for every level of learner. You will learn how to interpret the Word of God for your daily life and become stronger internally. Do you want to find inner peace and spiritual strength? Then this course is for you. The Faith School, every Wednesday at your local UCKG Help Centre. For more information, call 020 7686 6000 or visit our website uckg.org.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We have been talking regrets on today's show, what we would change if we could go back in time, and can things finally change and can we move on? Well, before we delve back into our subject, take a look at this video.
This time last year, my life was a complete utter mess. I knew that my husband was having an affair and I tried to confront him a couple of times, but he always denied it. I was very upset. I felt useless. I felt like I was no one. I felt someone else had taken my place. I used to imagine a wonderful marriage, a perfect marriage, and I thought I had a perfect marriage, but all of a sudden it was all taken away from me.
I got myself into a situation which I thought I could handle, and basically it turned out that I couldn't. I was living the life of a lie. One morning I woke up and just told my wife I didn't love her no more. I didn't want to lie no more. I didn't want to cheat no more. I told my wife that I didn't love her no more. The following morning I just took my passport and walked out basically with my family. When I got to work, I then decided on that day that I'd also walk out of my business. So basically, I just took what I had in my wallet, what clothes I had in my back, and decided now that everything was out in the open, they'd all be better off without me. So I left the country. I realised about being honest, faithful, and most importantly about sacrifice. And I had no problem with any three of those.
Even though I had my husband back, I didn't want the old husband. I wanted him to be different. And I told him about all the things that we could imagine together, or the happy life we could have together. Today I have a totally different husband. He's the man I've always wanted to have, and I trust him. I know that he is a good man, he's a good father, he's a good man. He's proved to me that he's what every husband should be.
Such a lovely, lovely video. Love that video so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Lovely couple. Beautiful ending.
Definitely.
Wonderful.
It's great because a lot of people feel like, you know, once a relationship goes really bad, like he left the country, he left her, left the children, some people do look at it and think, I will never take you back. And, you know, that's their decision, but she decided, let's talk about this, let's make it work, and I want my husband back. Yeah. And I think, like Sam said at the top of the show, a big part of regrets is you need to understand is that you can actually change a lot of things in your life.
Yes.
The power belongs to you, and that's why I like that story.
Yeah, and that's why I think that it's really important to, you know, you do have to step away from the actual regret and really identify what the regret is, and kind of, you know, meditate on it in a way that you can see what it is that you're feeling so bad about, or what you're feeling that regret is about, and actually doing something rather than dwelling in it. It could be a course that you did that was really, really bad and you failed at the end. Yeah. But there you go. I can actually do another course and I can actually pass the next course. So therefore, it's not set in stone. I can move forward from here. Yes, I regret that thing failed, but it doesn't have to fail in the future.
It's like that song by that Edith
Edith Pierre, is that? No, je ne regrette rien. Why not?
Beautiful, singing in French.
No regrets.
But
exactly it.
Ladies, I know we're having a bit of a giggle, and you gave the examples, but how do you get to a stage of no regrets? You have to be really strong-minded, as we've been learning and hearing, to get there. How do you?
To be honest, I don't know if you will ever get through your whole life and think, I have no regrets. I don't think so, you know. I think, like, you miss opportunities, or it's like, oh, I should have done things differently.
Definitely.
Or sometimes the regret could be something you've said to someone that hurts that person and you can't take it back. I think you can never go through your entire life and get to the end and say, I have not one regret. I think people that say that is possibly people that have learned how to deal with it. So not allow the emotion of it all to get them down, depressed, because I think that if you let it get to that point, that's when you can't move forward.
Yeah.
But then if you do something about it, because for example, with that drama that you just did, the drama therapy, I wouldn't do drama therapy personally. That's just not the sort of person that I am.
Yeah.
And I know that I would never I couldn't take it as seriously as that lady did, but some people, that's what works for them.
Yeah.
But one thing that she said that I really liked was addressing it, addressing the feelings. Don't put those feelings under the carpet.
That's right.
And you know, because sometimes when you deal with painful things like death, I've recently had somebody who was really close to my partner die, and he was really young, and a lot of you know him as well, and you know, his mum's actually dealing with it and so on, and we're all dealing with it, and it's really difficult because you do think of, oh, what if, and what would he be, and you know, where would he be now? And you know, if you're so close to that person, you think, what didn't I say? Or if you have an argument with the person, it's even worse. But a lot of the time you don't want to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
But I think you need to deal with your grief. You need to face up to the pain and maybe cry it out if that's what works for you. Talk through it if that's what works for you. But you've got to deal with it. I think brushing it under the carpet, it never helps at all. Never helps.
And I think another thing as well is avoid blaming other people.
Yeah.
Because I know the life coach mentioned something like that, and I totally agree with that. Because I think sometimes people do go through regrets and they blame others for it. And I think it's really important that no matter what the scenario is, that you do have to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, yes, maybe people have been involved in hurting you. You know, imagine someone who's been abused. You know, she may blame that person who was actually the person that was abusing her.
The perpetrator,
The perpetrator, of course. But still, you still have to take responsibility for your own mistakes. Maybe the signs were there and you didn't do anything about it. Take that responsibility and learn from that scenario and do something different. It can be something so simple like, you know, today I spoke to you really nasty today. I was very rude to you. But tomorrow, Jen, I can actually come and apologise to you. And I can actually speak nice with you the next day or the next time I see you. So just like what Gemma is saying, nothing is set in stone. We have the power, we have the ability to change, to change whatever situation
because like
that we go through.
And also talking about responsibility, because for example, abuse, you know, you can never say that's the victim's fault, like Sam was saying, but you know, for example, I've been in an abusive relationship. Could I change that in the past? No. But what can I do today? Instead of thinking, oh, poor me, and you know, my life is over, like I did do that, like I said at the top of the show, I did think my life was over. What I do is now I take responsibility to value myself and also to choose right. And I've chosen differently. So instead of thinking, oh, I don't want to leave my house because, you know, everything is terrible and poor me, etc., I've decided to use that and to make me make better decisions today so that I can have a really good life. And I think that's another way of taking responsibility, because if you look at how terrible your mum was or how bad that friend who betrayed you was, you can never change that person. We can't change anybody, but we can change ourselves and how we react to it. That's really important.
And seeing as well how our actions affected others. Because there are some people who think, I go through life with no regrets, but they're not thinking, what your regrets?
I did to others.
What did you do to others?
That's
you know?
right.
So it's like the decisions. If you're, you know, in charge of a family, be it single mom or as a husband, making that financial decision. Did you discuss it with your family? Did you just go ahead and make it? And now everyone else has got to deal with the consequences of those actions. So you do need to actually check and look back. And even as
try not to be selfish, isn't it?
This is it.
Self-centered.
Because some things you say, even if it's that you being nasty to somebody, like the example that Sam just gave, what happens if that person then goes off and does something to themselves, self-harm, or even that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
That's right.
You don't know, so you've got to think about how your actions also affect others. Are you causing other people to have regrets because of what you're doing?
Because that's like you, Jen, right? All your insecurities were caused from someone bullying you and from people bullying you.
Exactly, and as a result, it really just put me in a box. And I think I had a regret of now looking back and thinking what time I wasted, because it was several years of my life. And I think it's easy as well to say, well, get out there and go and do this, but sometimes you feel so limited and so stuck in your box, full of all of these regrets, that you don't know how to get out of it. And sometimes you are not strong enough to get out of it, and you need some strength to get you out of it. And I put my hands up. I did go to church, and I really put my relationship with God to the test, because I needed his strength at the time. Because when you feel that small about yourself, you don't see yourself ever coming out of it. And I remember like really pushing myself to come out and then asking God for strength, and he did give me that strength. And the thing that I love about it is, now that I've overcome it, yes, I do have the regrets of the time that I've wasted, but he's kind of helped me make up for all that lost time, if I could say. So that's how I dealt with it. And I think with regrets, the worst part about it is the time. You don't want to regret wasting time regretting stuff, because then you look back and years have passed by and you're still in the same position, and it didn't have to be that way.
The great thing about faith, I think, and about a relationship with God is, like what you said, is that he believes in you when you don't even believe in yourself. Because I've had a similar experience, which I spoke about, I think it was last week on last week's show, and it literally is that, like, sometimes you feel like your life is so bad, or you've made terrible mistakes, or sometimes people's, like Lisa said, people's actions have made your life turn out wrong. Because I remember that's what happened with my mum. She thought my mother has destroyed my life, and my mum went through years saying my mother's destroyed my life, my mother's destroyed my life, and it brought her to depression, to almost committing suicide, and so on. And it was really faith that helped us to get out of that sort of downward spiral. And that is the great thing about it is, if you're at home today and you don't even believe that you can get out of it, actually maybe faith could help you.
It could.
And say the same even for me when I went through my divorce. Being so young, I thought I wanted to have children by the same age that my mum had me, which was like around about 24.
Wow.
And that kind of relationship, that's what I wanted. I'd had dreams. I wanted to then be having a house, or starting a life with somebody. And that came down. That came crashing down, and it was like, was I going to wallow in my self-regrets where I was at the time and thinking my dreams had then disappeared. I could have then just gone down, stayed down, but thankfully, the same as you guys have said, I was able to go to somewhere and able to find out how to use that faith inside of me to think, actually, okay, so I can't have them now, but then I can have the dream that I wanted with the right person. And obviously that's a journey. But we've spoken about it, that the life coach said it, Gemma said it, about acknowledging where you are, and then where are you going to go next?
It's true. It's very important. You've got to know who you are. You've got to identify where your regrets are laying down. You've got to be able to put down those regrets and say, you know what, those regrets are not going to hold me. Do you know what I mean? If it means that you have to find forgiveness in your heart to forgive that person to move forward, then so it be. If it means that I have to swallow my pride and apologise, or whatever it may be, if it means that I have to go and do a course, or it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it can be small, it can be big, but it just means that we have to move forward. And if we don't move forward, we will end up failing. And that's not what we preach here on DKW. We are different kind of women, and there are many different kind of women out there that doesn't have to stay in their traumas.
I think it's also important to consider your circumstances. Obviously, you mentioned something that was topical for me. When you grow older, you kind of look at things slightly different when you're younger. And when you're younger, you don't really consider your circumstances so much, even though you don't realise, okay, you're still in your teens, you've got your years ahead of you, you can still find that Mr. Right, you can still go and live, but you just don't see it. And I think regardless of what age you are or where you presently are in your life, you should consider your circumstances as long as you still got air, you can still breathe. You still got some chance of changing that situation around. Okay, there are certain things that you can never change, like a loved one who's perhaps passed away. But that doesn't mean that the rest of your life has to pass away alongside with that person. You can still move on. You can still change things if you consider your circumstances.
And when you think about it, even with bereavement, it's like that. You think that person has passed away, and you're gonna have that regret, and you're in pain, and you remain in that pain. But think about it: would that person who is passed on, would that person want to see you in trauma, in disappointment, in sadness, in weak? No, they wouldn't. I know my mum passed away, and of course it was painful, and of course I needed comfort in many ways. You know, a lot of times I had to receive prayer to really get comforted in the time of losing my mother. But I know that my mother wants to see me happy. She wants to see me successful. She wants me seen doing the things and working towards my goals and achieving what's best for me. And we all have different goals, don't we?
And it's true, because sometimes the worst things that happen to us actually turn into some of the most pivotal things that we will ever do or ever become. Because, like, for example, when my dad committed suicide, which again I spoke about last week, my mum used that to then get educated. She wasn't educated before, and then she's become like a spokesperson for, like, people are like, oh, you should write a book, you should. And you know, she doesn't, if she had to do her life over, she always says, I never planned my life to be like this. I never imagined that my first love would kill himself and, you know, almost try to murder me. But, you know, I didn't plan that, but actually I'm going to make something amazing out of this, and I'm going to inspire many other people through this story of strength. So sometimes it becomes the best thing, and you can help other people in the process.
And on that note, I would like to even conclude by saying you can turn your regret basically into the most beautiful chapter of your life if you're ready to push for it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to go through some painful moments, probably deal with things that you don't want to deal with and you just want to run away. But you can't do that. You have to face your regrets head on, and then challenge yourself to move on and not look back. Just look ahead at a bright new future.
And we'll be there for them as well.
And definitely, I was going to say, if you do want to get in contact with us to talk about this subject or any other subject, please send an email to comments@dkw.me, and we'll be more than happy to respond back. Ladies, it's been a brilliant show. I loved it. Thank you.
It's been a wonderful evening with you.
It's been great. Have a fantastic DKW afternoon, and take care.